Hello and welcome everybody from the second largest city of Lithuania, from Kaunas. I would like to start already with an interesting legend. In the ancient Roman times there was a noble patrician called Palemon, and he had three sons, Barcus, Kaunas and Sperus, and they were living in the time of the mad emperor Nero. Probably you heard about this mad emperor Nero burning Rome. He set Rome on fire. So they fled to the current territories of Lithuania because they were fearing Nero, and they established many settlements here. And after Palemon died, the three sons divided the territories in three, and Kaunas established the settlement at the confluence of two rivers called Nemunas and Neris, and he also built a fortress here. So this settlement was named after him, after Kaunas, as Kaunas. But later the city was also named Kovno, as a Slavicized name. So this was the legend, but historians proved that Kaunas was established no later than the 10th century AD, and the first written mention of the city dates back to 1361. A brick castle was built here, and it was called as Kaunas Castle at the end of the 13th century, and it was very important because this territory received many attacks from the Teutonic Order. Why was that? The Duchy of Lithuania was a European state established in the 13th century by Lithuanians, and well, they were a polytheistic nation, so the Crusaders really hated the Lithuanians. They attacked Lithuania many times, and they burned everything to the ground and massacred everybody just because of their faith, because of their religion. Absolutely crazy story. So that was the reason why many brick castles were constructed to defend the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. In 1795 the Grand Duchy of Lithuania was divided between big forces of Europe, the Kingdom of Prussia, the Habsburg Empire and the Russian Empire. So actually the Grand Duchy of Lithuania existed between the 13th and the 18th century. In 1408, Vytautas the Great, the ruler of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, granted Kaunas the city rights. Kaunas joined the Hanseatic League in 1441. The Hanseatic League was a famous commercial and defensive confederation of merchant guilds and market towns in Central and Northern Europe, growing from some North German cities in the 12th century. The greatest economic boom of Kaunas history was in the 16th and 17th century. They constructed many brick masonry buildings that time. Prosperity of Kaunas led to the beginning of the construction of Kaunas Wall. They wanted to build a fortification around the city, but they couldn't complete it because of the wars of the coming years. In 1665 the Russian army attacked the city several times, and it was conquered by the Swedish army in 1701 during the Great Northern War. And also bubonic plague struck the area, and it lasted many decades, ended in 1708, and then later, after many residents were killed by the plague, some fires broke out in the city in 1731 and 32, also killing many citizens and destroying many buildings. So yes, Kaunas had very sad times during those years. In 1795 Kaunas became part of the Russian Empire, and during the French invasion of Russia, Kaunas was devastated two times in 1812 by the army of Napoleon, and still hill fort mound is called Napoleon's Hill. In 1862, Kaunas became a significant and important railway hub because a railway was constructed between the Russian Empire and Imperial Germany, with the first railway tunnel constructed in the whole empire. Paul von Hindenburg's German 10th Army occupied Kaunas in the August of 1915. The Lithuanian Wars of Independence took place after the First World War, and it was fought against the Russians and the Polish. The Red Army occupied the capital Vilnius in 1919, and later it was annexed to the Second Polish Republic, so the government of Republic of Lithuania put their residence to Kaunas, and it was named as the temporary capital of Lithuania. So these wars delayed the international recognition of Lithuania. Between the two world wars, Kaunas was modernized and the city grew rapidly. More than 2,500 buildings were constructed here, and the city was also nicknamed as Little Paris because of its rich cultural and academic lifestyle, fashion and Art Deco and Lithuanian national romanticism architecture style and cafe culture. So yes, it was a very high lifestyle here in Kaunas, and salaries were also high. It could be compared with German, Italian and Swiss salaries. So yes, it was a very wealthy city that time. Also many bridges were built on the Nemunas and Neris river, and also the water supply system was modernized. So yes, in every point of view, Kaunas became a modern and very developed city. The industry also prospered in Kaunas, and the city was expanded from 18 to 40 square kilometers, so more than double the size compared to the end of the First World War. On the 1st September of 1939, the Nazi Germany invaded Poland, and the Second World War was started. 16 days later, the Soviet Union also invaded the east part of Poland, so Lithuanians were concerned about this threatening situation, and they sent a delegation to Moscow on the 7th October. But actually this had already no sense, because the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact already divided the countries of East Europe between the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. But well, Lithuanians were talking about their sovereignty and integrity, and they tried to defend their country. So the Soviet-Lithuanian Mutual Assistance Treaty was signed, and in this treaty it was clarified that 20,000 Soviet troops will enter Lithuania, and in exchange Vilnius, the historical capital of Lithuania, will be given back to Lithuanians. Actually, Lithuanians didn't want this. They didn't want the Soviet soldiers to enter their country, but the angry Joseph Stalin said that it doesn't matter if you want to take Vilnius back or not, the Soviet troops will enter Lithuania anyway. So yes, actually that time Lithuania was not yet occupied by the Soviet Union, but just some troops were inside of the country. But 1 year later, the Red Army in 1940 conquered the whole Lithuania. 200,000 soldiers entered the region, and they were very brutal. They killed all high officials and almost all ministers of Lithuania. Fortunately, the president could escape alive, but it was a very brutal action of the Russian soldiers, as always when they entered in some country during the Second World War. On the 22nd June of 1941, Hitler invaded the Soviet Union, and the Soviet forces fled from Kaunas. and 3 days later the German occupation started in Lithuania. In 1944 the Red Army started the counter-offensives, and they actually reconquered all the 3 Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, and Kaunas was conquered on the 1st of August 1944. But again, Kaunas was the center of resistance against the Soviet Union, and right from the beginning of the Lithuanian partisan wars, the most important partisan districts were in Kaunas. And also in 1956, when Hungary started the uprising against the Soviet Union, the Lithuanians supported the Hungarian uprising by rioting. In 1989 several protests took place in order to gain independence from the Soviet Union, and in the February of this year 200,000 people gathered together in the city center of Kaunas in order to participate in the dedication of a new monument to freedom, because the old one was torn down by the Soviets at the end of the Second World War. So in 1990 Lithuania became the first of the 15 Soviet republics which gained its freedom, and 1 year later in 1991 the Soviet Union collapsed totally. Kaunas is an important cultural and economic center of Lithuania, and it's the country's second largest city after the capital Vilnius. It has a population of 392,000 people, and well, if you know how I travel, sometimes I go to some secluded cities like this, because Hungary, the national football team of Hungary, is playing there. So yes, tomorrow Lithuania will play against Hungary here in Kaunas. That's the reason why I am here. And well, actually Kaunas is not famous about football, it is more famous about basketball. Zaliakalnis is a very famous and popular team, and also because of its non-violent resistance against the Soviet Union back at that time when they were facing CSK Moscow. At the time they had very big battles on the basketball field, and it was like a symbol of resistance against the Soviets, because many times the Lithuanians won against the Russians in these basketball games. In 2022 Kaunas was also named the cultural capital of Europe. So yeah, I forgot to tell, now it is October of 2023. So that was enough about the history of Kaunas. Let's get started with the sightseeing tour. Let's explore the main sightseeing attractions of this beautiful city. Now let's visit the most important sightseeing attraction of Kaunas, the Kaunas Castle, which was built in the middle of the 14th century in Gothic style. The castle was built to a strategic location, to the confluence of the Neris and Nemunas rivers, so it served as a strategic outpost, and also guarded nearby cities as well, and also trade routes. At the beginning of the 21st century, about 1/3 of the castle was still standing. This is what we can visit now. In the 14th century, the castle was conquered by the Teutonic Knights many times. The Crusaders destroyed the castle and murdered many Lithuanians just because they were polytheistic. The castle was reconstructed many times. In 1384, Kaunas Castle was recaptured by the Teutonic Knights. At this time, Grand Master Konrad Zöllner von Rothenstein began the construction of the castle and renamed it as Marienwerder. The presence of the Knights in Kaunas meant that the entire defensive system of castles along the Nemunas river was threatened. Confronting this situation, the Lithuanians launched an attack on the castle later the same year and conquered it back again. After 1398, the Teutonic Knights were no longer able to reconquer the castle. During the 16th century, the castle was strengthened and adapted to new defensive purposes by the construction of an artillery bastion near the round tower. Due to its convenient location, it was used by the Swedish military during its war with the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth between 1600 and 1611, after which its military functions ceased. In the middle of the 17th century, large portions of the castle were again flooded. The castle was used as a prison in the 18th century. Later, the Russian administration granted permission for houses to be built in the castle's territory, which resulted in significant damage to the castle. Protection of the castle began in 1930. Nearby houses were demolished and the territory was examined by archaeologists. Further efforts to preserve the castle were made in the 1950s. At this time, the round tower underwent some repair. Later, the firing bastion was excavated from beneath several overlaying strata. Major reconstruction work started in 2010 and ended in 2011. So in 2011, a branch of the Kaunas City Museum was established in Kaunas Castle. So now the castle is open to tourism and hosts occasional festivals. And well, there are not so much left from the castle. That's why I'm taking the video from this angle, because this is actually the only building standing. And well, we'll also take a look from other angles, but it's not very much to see. There's a small museum inside of the castle. The entrance fee was only €3, so it's worth to watch it. Castle Dungeon. Looks scary. Some shekels. It looks interesting, so let's check it out. According to a local legend, in the cellar of the Kaunas Castle there are warriors still sleeping, bewitched by Duke Vaidotas, and when Kaunas will be in any major trouble, they will wake up and defend the city. It's absolutely crazy to believe this. It is also said that in the night you could hear the talks of these warriors, sounds of weapons and the neigh of the horses coming out of the ground. This was a medieval belief. This is Duke Vaidotas. It's a crazy idea to believe that in these walls some zombie warriors are sleeping. And that's a very beautiful painting of the Kaunas Castle, how it looked like in the medieval ages. It was absolutely huge. This is a very steep medieval stair. Public transportation in Kaunas is very simple. There are only buses, and the bus driver opens only the first door. This is where you board the bus, and you should pay the ticket for the driver. It's only €1 for one-way ticket, so it's very cheap, and you can also use these bus services from the airport to the city center, so it's really convenient to get to the city center for just €1. I think I didn't even see such a city in Europe where it's so cheap. This is the Zaliakalnis funicular. It was built in 1931, so it's the oldest funicular of Lithuania, and it is among the oldest vehicles of such a type in the world still operational. The funicular is made of a wood-paneled coachwork and climbs 142 meters up to the Basilica of the Resurrection of Christ. It was constructed by engineering firm Kurt Rudolf Transportanlagen from Dresden. The Christ Resurrection Church is a monumental Roman Catholic church. It was consecrated in 2004 and in 2005 finally completed. It is the largest basilical church in the Baltic states. You can compare it with the cars. You can see its huge dimensions. It's absolutely huge building. The first cornerstone for the church was brought from Jerusalem, from the Mount Olives in 1934, marking the church first symbolic milestone. Funds for the construction were raised in Lithuania and abroad. In 1938 the walls and the roof of the church were completed, and in 1940 it was largely finished. Further work on the church was suspended during the Second World War. Of course, as I mentioned before, first the Nazi Germany's occupied Lithuania, and they used the church as a storeroom. And after, during the Soviet occupation of Lithuania, the building was confiscated by the government, and Stalin decreed to be used as a radio factory. Absolutely incredible to use the church as a factory. But after Lithuania gained independence in 1990, renovation and construction of today's church began. The church now features two towers. One is 70 meters high, and the lower one rises from the main altar. In the main tower's upper level there is an additional chapel, and an elevator permits access to the church's roof, which offers a panoramic view of the city. So this church stands top of Kaunas's green hill, Zaliakalnis. So we came to the top with the funicular, and it can accommodate 5,000 people. So we are already at the viewing platform. It's an absolutely amazing view from here. It cost 2.5 euro to use the elevator to climb here. You can also take the stairs, it's for free. Well, I was not lazy to do that, but I was thinking I should support the local business and buy this elevator ticket. Absolutely amazing view, and nobody here. There's also one more chapel in front of us. Laisvės alea is the Liberty Boulevard of Kaunas. It's a very famous pedestrian street. You can find many shops, cafes, restaurants, pubs on this long and wide street. And in the middle there are also many benches where you can sit down. This is like heart of the city, and the street is leading to the old town of Kaunas, which we'll also discover soon. The church of Saint Gertrude is located in the old town of Kaunas, and it is one of the oldest brick Gothic churches of Gothic architecture in Lithuania. It is a Roman Catholic church. The exact date when the church was built is unknown, but it must have been in the 15th century. It was built as a churchyard chapel in the location of the former burial ground nearby the city border, near the road leading to Vilnius. In 1503, Grand Duke of Lithuania, Alexander, designated the church as a parish church of Kaunas. The church was damaged in 1655 during the Russo-Polish War, and it was rebuilt around 1680. In 1992, a complex renovation of the church and the monastery took place. Sorry for the bad background noise, some construction takes place in the background. Absolutely amazing brick church. I like that Kaunas has more pedestrian, car-free streets with old buildings. That's very nice here in Kaunas. This is the Kaunas Cathedral, or called in its longer name the Cathedral Basilica of Apostles Saint Peter and Saint Paul of Kaunas. It is a Roman Catholic cathedral basilica. The exact date when the first Gothic style church dedicated to these two apostles was built is unknown, but it was first mentioned in written sources in 1413. The first parochial school in Kaunas at the St. Peter and St. Paul church was mentioned in 1473. The construction of the current church was finished in 1624. The church greatly suffered from the Russo-Polish War, and it was rebuilt in 1671, gaining some Renaissance features. The present day shape of the building results from further renovations in 1800. The church was promoted to the cathedral status by Pope Leo IX in 1895. It received also the Basilica title in 1926 by Pope Pius XI. The cathedral, being 84 meter long, 28 meter high and 34 meter wide, is the largest Gothic church in Lithuania. The Chapel of the Blessed Sacrament, built in 1895, is an independent extension of the southern nave, with carved wood furnishing in neo-Gothic style. This also makes this church very special. The cathedral is in the old town of Kaunas. We can find many old buildings here which are renovated, and now they have different purposes. Some of them are pubs, restaurants. So the old town is very beautiful. We will discover it further. But first let's go inside of this huge cathedral. The city hall of Kaunas was built in 1542. Unfortunately, we cannot enjoy the view because it is under reconstruction, renovation. It's a very old town hall. And this is the main square of the old town. Very beautiful old buildings here. And some of them host restaurants and terraces, pubs. And also the Christmas market is organized usually on this square. This is a Jesuit church of Saint Francis Xavier. The Jesuits opened their first residence in Kaunas in 1642, and they established a chapel here. The construction of this church started in 1666 and it was completed in 1720. The church was consecrated 2 years later. The Tsarist Russian government gave the church to the Orthodox Church for their use in 1824. After Lithuania was occupied by the Soviet Union, the Saint Francis Xavier Church was turned into a technical school. Absolutely incredible. And the interior of the church was used as a sport hall. Absolutely shocking. The church was returned again to the Jesuits in 1989, and the renovation of the church took place in 1992. So this church is also in the center of the old town. The house of Perkunas is one of the most original and Gothic secular buildings located in the old town of Kaunas. Originally built by Hanseatic merchants and served as their office from 1440 until 1532. It was sold in the 16th century to the Jesuits, who had established a chapel here in 1643. The ruined house was rebuilt in the 19th century and it served as a school and theater. And it was also attended by the famous Polish-Lithuanian poet Adam Mickiewicz. At the end of the 19th century, the house was renamed. It was named the House of Perkunas, when a figure interpreted by the romantic historians of that time as an idol of the Baltic pagan god of thunder and sky called Pergunas. So this idol, this figure, was found in one of its walls of this house. Today the house of Perkunas once again belongs to the Jesuits and houses a museum of Adam Mickiewicz. This is the Nemunas River. The Church of Vytautas the Great, or the Church of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, is a Roman Catholic church in the old town of Kaunas, and it is the oldest church in the city and an important example of Gothic architecture. This is the only church in Lithuania which has a cross-shaped plan. So why it is also called Vytautas Church? Because it was ordered and founded by Vytautas the Great as a commendation to the Blessed Virgin Mary for saving his life after a major defeat against the Tatars in the Battle of the Vorksla River. He ordered the construction, and it was accomplished in 1400. Franciscan friars used the church that time. Well, it was not a good idea to construct it so close to the Nemunas river, because the river was flooded many times, and of course the church suffered from these spring floods. In 1845 it was also given to the Orthodox Church, so it suffered from many problems. But actually before that also the troops of Napoleon burned it to the ground in 1812. Forgot to mention that. And it also served as a military barracks. Germans used it as a warehouse, so yeah, it had a very sad history, but it was returned back to the Catholic Church, and it went under a lot of renovations. That's why it looks like so beautiful now. It's a real example of Gothic architecture. Kaunas has one more funicular, the Alexotas funicular. It was constructed on the right bank of the Nemunas river and officially opened on the 6th December of 1935. The length of the funicular is 132.9 meters and the gradient is 18 degrees. Authentic traction equipment, including the Genian pre-war wagons, wooden seats and stop platforms of the funicular are still used, so you will have an authentic feeling when you will try this sightseeing attraction. So this funicular climbs from the end of the Vytautas the Great bridge to the Alexotas hill, from where the panorama of the old town can be experienced. So it's a very beautiful view after we climb to the top. So now we reach the viewpoint of the Alexotas hill with the funicular. It's a very beautiful view. That's in front of us the Vytautas the Great church and Vytautas the Great bridge. So yeah, many buildings and many things are named after Vytautas the Great. Also the forest is very beautiful in autumn. That's the way of the funicular, the railway. St. George the Martyr church is also a very old Roman Catholic church constructed at the end of the 15th century in a Gothic style. And this was used by the Soviets as a medicine warehouse. Yes, they found a purpose to each church from their perspective. This is the statue of Vytautas the Great, famous king of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, and also a university is called after him here in Kaunas. Let's visit the 9th fort And now I don't have any reason to smile anymore, because it was also named as the Fort of Death. It was used during the Second World War by the Nazi Germany as a concentration camp, and approximately 50,000 Jews were killed here. But let's not jump so far. Let's start with the beginning. In the end of the 19th century, Kaunas was fortified already, and it was encircled by 8 fortresses, and well, they decided that also a 9th fort must be built, and they started the construction in 1902, and they finished right on the eve of the First World War, when the First World War started. During the Soviet occupation, the 9th fort was converted as a prison, and mostly political prisoners were kept here, but not very long. It was actually a stopover, because the Soviets, the Russians, transported these prisoners far away to the Soviet Union, to Siberia, where the labor camps were located. These were called the gulags. But in 1941 the Nazi Germany conquered Lithuania, and the Soviets fled from this area, and then the 9th fort was converted into a concentration camp, and in the city the Kaunas ghetto, also called the Kovno ghetto, was established, and the bloodiest day of Lithuanian history is called the Kaunas massacre. On that day, mass graves were digged, and 9,000 Jews were killed in one day. And yes, this is the bloodiest moment of Lithuania's history. Many people, many historians state that. So we'll also go inside, where many exhibitions present how prisoners were living there. So yeah, I advise to watch this vlog only if you have strong nerves. It's a very sad place. Erkolon Wasserman Rabbi was the most famous victim fallen here, and after the Second World War the Soviets used the fort again as a prison, but in 1958 the museum was established, and they were focusing on the war crimes of the Nazi Germans. The way of death. This is the memorial of the victims. It was erected in 1984 by sculptor Ambraziūnas, Lithuanian sculpture. It's 32 meters high. It is located on the green fields where mass burial places were found. I'm always shocked when I travel to such places. Cannot imagine how people could be so evil back that time. Massacres took place on these green fields. This time we'll visit the Devil's Museum. I have been many places, but I never heard about such a thing to have a museum of devil statues. Antanas Zmuidzinavičius was a local Lithuanian artist, and he was born in 1876. He started to collect devil statues and sculptures from all over the world, and he could collect 260 during his lifetime. even though it was banned during the Soviet period to do such a thing. And he unfortunately passed away in 1966, and locals wanted to make a memorial to this famous local artist, and they transformed the house of Zmuidzina into a museum of these devil statues to make an exhibition. And what happened after, it's absolutely crazy. The visitors also brought many devil statues here, so currently the exhibition is expanded to 3,000 devil statues and sculptures. Absolutely crazy. And already in 1982 they needed to expand, I mean the organizers needed to expand this house to a 3-story building in order to store all these devil statues. On the ground floor we can find the original collection of Zmuidzina, and on the upper floors the donations of other visitors. And there are many statues in different positions, so it will be very fun to visit this place. And there's also grotesque imagination of Hitler and Stalin. They are also depicted as devils, and they are dancing around a pile of human bones. So yes, there are also some caricatura figures here, of course, depicting and symbolizing devil political figures, and also some local Lithuanian myths, folk stories. So I think it will be very interesting to watch this vlog. So let's go inside and discover this museum. So now we are at the ground floor, where we can find the initial collection of Zmuidzina. The entrance fee was €8. I cannot tell if it was worth or not. Before I prepared my trip I read it's just €5, but maybe because of the inflation they increased the price already. But well, I think it's a special experience. You cannot find such a museum anywhere, so I was really curious about it. I hope you will not have any nightmares after watching this video. Oh, this one looks interesting. And here is a photo of Zmuidzina. I don't have any information about why he started to collect devil statues. He was actually painter, professor, pedagogue and social activist, so very famous in Kaunas. Oh, an angel is stepping on the devil. Oh, okay. This guy got to the hell. Very interesting collection. On the second floor we can find an exhibition of the donations of several countries. There is also a Hungarian devil. Many countries are represented here. This is from Japan. Looks very scary. Troll. So this was the complete travel vlog about Kaunas. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if that's so, please subscribe to my channel if you didn't do it yet. It's very important to push on the bell icon, because this is how you get notified about the new contents. Have a nice day and goodbye.
Oh, that's la la life. That's la la life. Baby, let it be. Enjoy the